Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Jennifer, and I'm a teaching artist in the Pace Art program. I'm here today to do an art lesson with you. I'm glad that you could join me. Today we'll be doing an ELA-based art lesson. This lesson has to do with a story that your teacher read to you recently. And for this lesson, we'll be creating our own character, Apanog, just like you learned in the story about Bear, Gull, and Crow. In the story, the Apanog ended up being a celebration for Native Americans, but in the minds of Bear, Gull, and Crow, they thought it was a made-up character. For that reason, we'll be focusing on creating our own pretend Apanog today using our imagination. We'll be focusing on things like realistic and non-realistic. Today, the supplies that you will need will be a white sheet of paper, a variety of crayons, and a black or brown marker. We will be using lines, shapes, and colors to create our drawing today. We will also be focusing on large, medium, and small. We'll also be using some directional words, and we will also learn about geometric and organic shapes. Before we start drawing today, I want to show you some pictures that were made by famous artists. We're going to be talking about two of them. Now, I mentioned realistic and non-realistic. Well, realistic means that it looks real, and non-realistic means that it does not look real. So if we look here, we have an artist named Pablo Picasso. Picasso drew a picture of himself, and this is what his picture looked like. Does this look like a real picture? Well, yeah, kind of, but it's really not realistic. He made his different parts of his face like longer, and maybe like lines that were like diagonals and curves, and his hair right here kind of looks like it might be like the top of a triangle. His eyes are really big, so this is not really realistic. This is what we call abstract. On the other hand, we have this artist named Vincent Van Gogh. And if we look here at the picture that he made of himself, you will see that this picture looks a lot closer to what he really looks like. This picture is realistic. So again, remember that this one is not realistic and this one is realistic. Now keep that in mind because we are going to be talking about that a little more in our lesson today. And so now I'm ready to move on. So what is an Apanog? Well, an Apanog is a Native American celebration. But to Bear, Gull, and Crow, they thought it was a made-up animal, maybe even a made-up person or a made-up creature. The three of them turned the Apanog into a character in their heads. Do you think their Apanog character was real or not real? I would think that it was not real. So it was not realistic. It was non-realistic, which means it's not realistic. So their character was a made-up character. Today we're going to be making our own made-up character, and we are going to be drawing it on our paper. So what is a character? Well, a character is usually a person, animal, or creature in a story. We will be creating our own story today, and so our Apanog will be the main character in our story. So what is realistic? Again, we said it is when something looks real. Non-realistic is when it doesn't look real. Good job. I heard you guys saying it to me. Very good. Well, I want to go ahead and get started drawing today. If you look over at my picture, here is my kind of creature or character, and you can see that I used a lot of different colors, and I made him look kind of like just something from my imagination, and that's what we're going to do today. I even went as far as I made a moon in my picture, and my moon is actually looks like pizza. It has like pepperoni and pizza sauce. Now, is my moon realistic? No, it is not realistic. It's non-realistic because our moons don't look like pizza. But today we're creating our own picture from our imagination, so you could put it looking like anything that you would like. Is my character a realistic character? No, it's made up. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now my character is actually in the water, and he has feet that look like frogs' toes. He's a comb, like a rooster comb. So sometimes you can take different parts of animals and you can add it to your made-up picture to make it look really, really interesting. Now I want to get started. I'm going to be using my marker to draw. You could use your brown or black, whichever one you have. If you do not have either one of those, a black crayon will work just fine. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We want to make up a character. First of all, if we're making up a character, we need to think about a name. So let's all in our imaginations think of a silly name that we could actually name our character. I think I want mine to be Appanuki. Appanuki, Miss Jennifer. Yes, it could be anything that you want it to be. So Appanuki is my character. And I'm going to be drawing my character. You know what? I want him to be standing on the sun. Now, is that realistic? No, we really can't stand on the sun. It's way too hot. And maybe along the way, I might add some other things to my picture that are kind of silly. So I want you to think, what is your character's name? Take your time, and I want you to tell your neighbor what your character's name is. Go ahead and do that now. Oh, I'm hearing some really, really good names. Awesome. Some other ideas for some names might be Bloopy Zogi, or Nupio, or Vinsmos, or Mazzaluto. You can make it up any kind of way that you want. And so, here we go. Let's get ready to start drawing. So today, when we're drawing, we're going to make sure that we talk about large, medium, and small, in which you know that this would be a large circle. And we know that because if I make a circle next to it, I can see that it is a lot bigger. So I have a large. This would be a what? Good job, a medium. But then if I make a smaller circle, it would be you guessed it, a small circle. So we'll be making large, medium, and small parts on our character today. Another thing that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about geometric and organic. That's some really big words, Miss Jennifer. Well, let's break it down. If you think about geometric shapes, those are actually shapes that you learn with your classroom teacher. Those are shapes that we already know. One shape might be a triangle. So go ahead and tell me, what is another shape that you know? I heard an oval. Good job. You know what I also heard? I heard someone say a rhombus. That's a really good one. So shapes that we kind of already know and that we learn in our class are called geometric shapes. Now, it's a big fancy word, but basically what that means is that there are shapes that are kind of already made and they have a name to them. But there's another kind of shape that we're going to be using today, and that shape is called an organic shape. Organic, that's another big word. Well, an organic shape is sort of the shape that we see. For example, if we look at a cloud is an organic shape. And it's an organic shape because it doesn't have a name to it. It's just a shape that's made with one line that kind of starts and stops at the same place, and we don't have a name for it. So here, this would be an organic shape. Notice I started here and I went around, kind of just with like a wiggly line, and I connected it back together. Now this shape doesn't have a name. We just know that it is a shape that is made usually in like nature. A cloud. Sometimes if you look at the edge of a puddle of water, that outside edge is not going to look like a square or a rectangle. Instead, it's going to be like an organic shape. So maybe our puddle looks something like this. that would still be an organic shape because we can't name it like we would name our triangle or our square. So a puddle could be one. What if you are painting and you squeeze paint onto your paper? When that paint comes out of that tube or that bottle, it might look like this. Would that be a geometric shape like these? Or would that be an organic shape like these? Yes, it would be an organic shape. And so we're going to be using an organic shape today in our picture when we are drawing. So we could add that to our character. All right, another thing that we're going to focus on are different kinds of lines and directions. What direction is this line, boys and girls? I think I heard it. If you said diagonal, you were right. Now, a diagonal line can go from top to bottom going this way, or it can even go this way. It doesn't really matter. It is still a diagonal line. And we've been learning these lines in the different art lessons that you've been doing with us. Here is another one. We know that this is a straight line, but let's think about this. What direction is this line going? Well, it is going across. That is called a horizontal line, and you've probably heard this before. And a line that's going from top to bottom is a, say it guys, vertical line. Good job. I was waiting. It is a vertical line. It goes from top to bottom. That's the direction of that line. And so we're going to be using directional lines today when we are drawing our character in our picture. All right, I'm ready to get started. So I did say one thing. I said that my character was going to be standing on the what? Do you remember? Let's think about it. The sun. Good job. So to make my sun, I'm going to use my curved line because I want to make it at the bottom of my paper. Now, today, it doesn't really matter if you put your paper standing vertically or horizontally. I'm going to let you decide. Of course, I have mine horizontally today. And so I'm going to start first. Down at the bottom, I'm going to make a curve. So, yes, my sun would be like a large circle, but instead, I'm kind of just drawing a part of it and pretending like the rest of it just got cut off of my paper. There's my sun. Now what could I add to my sun? I could probably add some sun rays. Now, sun rays are really not real. They're not realistic, but we draw them anyway because the sun rays are kind of like the glare or the light that shines off of the sun, and we draw them so that we could show what we see from that glare or that reflection. And so I think for this one, I might want to use my wavy line. Okay, now let's look at something. Does this look like my geometric shape or more like my organic shape? More like my organic shape. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my wavy line and back. And you can do that too if you want to draw a sun. You do not have to draw a sun, but think about what will your character be standing on. Here, my character is standing in water. Your character could be standing on land. Maybe your character could be standing on a marshmallow, or maybe even, you know what? Maybe your character's jumping in the air. So decide what you want your character to be doing. Standing on something, jumping in the air, it's really up to you. So let's draw whatever you decide now. Just make sure to leave enough room at the top of your paper so that we can draw our character. All right, so here I'm going to draw another sun, right, and another one here. Now I'm not going to draw one in the middle here because that's where my character is going to go. And you know what, I might even want to put like a little zigzag line so that it kind of looks like maybe my sun has lines on it. All right, so there's my sun. How is your picture coming? What is your character standing on? What is your character doing? Wow, I heard a lot of really good answers. Awesome. All right, now let's think about this. What do I want my character to look like? I think that I want my character, one, to have an organic body. So I'm going to start right here and I'm going to draw his body. There is his body, an organic shape. Draw your body now. Decide if you want to use a geometric shape like a triangle, an oval, maybe a rectangle, or if you want to draw these fancy organic shapes. Let's do that now. So here's his body. All right, now we need to think about what will be at the bottom of the body. Will we have legs? Will we have a fishtail? Will we have just one leg? Could our animal or our creature just have one leg? Yes, it could just have one leg because you know what? We could still stand on one leg. Maybe you don't want legs at all. Maybe you want it to look like octopus or something like that. So go ahead and do that now. So for the legs, I think that I probably will want my creature to have rectangle legs. Just like this. So 2 rectangles. Make your legs any way that you want. Any shape that you want. Maybe it's just lines. Maybe they're like this, or maybe their legs look like this, or maybe one is a wavy line and maybe one is a zigzag line. It's really up to you. Remember, we're using our imaginations. We're being super creative here. All right, the next thing I want to do is I think I want to put ovals at the bottom of the legs for his feet. So if you want feet, put feet now. Now remember, you could draw the character that Miss Jennifer's drawing if you're not sure what you want to do, or maybe you like mine, but I think that maybe you should try to draw your own character. Change it up. Make it fun. Make it silly. Make it what you want it to be. All right, so now I have to think about what kind of head will my character have? Well, you know what? I think I want my character to have a pointed head. So here we go. I'm going to make him a pointed head, just like this. So add your head. Good job. Oh, your pictures are looking so good. They're all so different. Love them. Good job. All right. So what's next? You know what? I want to add something else. I want to add some antennas. Well, for my antennas could be shaped something like this with a circle on the top. So here we go. I'm going to actually use a curved line. And there's one. And I'm going to make another bigger one here. They don't have to be the same size. It's really up to you. On the tops, I want to make a circle. Now, would that be a large circle, medium size, or small? Well, I'm thinking this is probably small. So I'm going to put another one up here, just like this. Now, I want to actually add his eyes. Now, does my character's eyes really have to look like my eyes? Do they have to be in the same place? Of course not. Do his eyes even have to be on his head? No, if you don't want them on his head, you don't have to do that. You can put them anywhere that you want. So I think that I might want to make one eye here. And of course, I used a medium-sized circle because here I have a smaller colored-in circle in the middle. And you know what? For his other eye, I want to do a shape, another shape. And maybe his eye is a long oval. And instead of putting the little circle dot on the inside, maybe for this one, I'm going to put a triangle, just like this. So add your eyes if you want eyes. You don't have to have eyes. All right, there we go. And I think I want my creature right here, and I'm going to put this on his body. I want him to have a mouth, but I want him to have a really long tongue. So, wait a minute, Miss Jennifer. You're putting his mouth and his tongue on his body, and you're not putting it on his face. Is that okay? Of course that's okay, because we're using our imaginations. We're making up the creature the way we see it in our head. All right, so there we go. And you know what? I might want to do something else. I might want to do something silly, and I want to make him 2 big teeth on the sides. Ooh, I love your drawings. Another question is, will my character wear clothes? Yeah, you know what? I think I want him to be wearing clothes. So I'm going to make him have a zigzag striped shirt. Just like this. So I could put a zigzag. You could put a curved line. You could put a diagonal line if you want. You could just do diagonals like this if you want on his shirt. So maybe I'm going to make him have long sleeves. And you know what? I'm going to use my idea. I'm going to use my diagonal lines for his sleeves, just like this. Ooh, I'm liking my character. How about you? I bet you're loving your character. Right. So you might want to take a little time now without talking. I want you to peek over to your neighbor's picture on this side. See what they're doing. Wow. Now I want you to peek over to the neighbor on this side, and I want you to see what they're doing. Awesome. I like the way that you did that very quietly. You see how your neighbor's pictures are very different from yours? Their character is their own character that they're making up for themselves and for their story. All right, so there we go. Now, I think I want to do something else. So I know that my character is on the sun in the sky, but I want to add something else. I think that I want to add a tree. So here, I'm just going to add some branches, and it doesn't have to be a fancy tree. It's really up to whatever you want your tree to look like, if you want a tree. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And maybe I want my tree branch to go all the way across my paper, just like this. And what if I decide that I want to maybe make some shapes on my tree? I could definitely do that. Your tree does not have to look real. Maybe your tree has eyes. Maybe your tree has feet. Maybe he has fingers. It's really up to you. So here is my character. And so if you remember, my character, I named him, do you remember? Appanuki. Good job, Appanuki. What is the name of your character? Tell your friend. Awesome. All right, so my character lives on the sun, and he has a tree around him because maybe he lives on the sun in the middle of the forest. And so part of my story could be, so my character, Appanuki, lives on the sun, and the sun is very hot. He raises his arms up strong to show that he doesn't matter how hot that sun is. And sometimes when it gets really, really, really hot, even though he's really strong, he'll hold onto the branch and he'll pick his feet up to cool off a bit. So for my story, my character could hold onto the branch and pick himself up so that he is not so hot. Now, would I add something else to my story? Of course. What does my character do during the day? My character chews bubble gum and eats noodles out of his nose. They're cheesy, buttery, slimy noodles in his nose. Can you imagine that? And you know what else? He sleeps a lot. And he snores. And when he snores, he sounds like a chirping flea. Wow, Miss Jennifer. So that is part of my story. So he lives on the sun. Sometimes he hangs from the branch. He eats noodles from his nose. He chirps like a flea when he's sleeping. And you know what else? He likes to make his eyes really big to try to scare people. So sometimes he does that too. So let's think about it. What do you want your story to be like? So now I want you to turn to your neighbor, and I want you to tell your neighbor your character's name again, and I want you to name one thing about your story that you think is super funny. So before we do that, let's close our eyes and let's think about a story. Think about your character. What is your character standing on? Is your character in the air? Is he hanging from something? Is he jumping? What does your character look like? What part of your character do you like the most? What part do you think is the funniest? And let's tell our neighbor. Awesome. Now, I want your neighbor to tell the story to the neighbor next to them. So let's take a little time to do that. Make it really short, simple and quick. Very good. Y'all are having some really good stories. I see a lot of you using your imagination for your story. And remember, your character is the main person in your story. So when you're telling a story, you should always name your character as the main person in your story. Good job. All right. So now I want you to get your crayons to start coloring. Now, I'm not going to be spending a whole lot of time coloring with you today because I really wanted us to work on our picture and our little story and our character's name, but you can start coloring. So I think I'm going to start, and I am going to color my sun sort of an orange color, and I can also go back and I can add some orange. Now remember, in your picture, we use directional lines. We use those diagonals and zigzags, and we talked about drawing it vertically and horizontally. And we also used organic shapes and geometric shapes. That's what makes our picture super, super fun. All right, and so now what I want to do is I think I want to color the sun rays a different color. I am going to make sure that when I'm coloring my character today, I add a whole lot of colors to my character's clothes and arms and face. All right, and so here I'm going to just color them red. Remember, when you're coloring, you don't want to color too dark like this. You want to sort of color lightly. That way, you can still see your lines that you drew. And you can sort of mix colors together if you want, like I did here, where I used orange, and then I went back on top of it with some yellow. I think I want to be super silly, and I want my character to have a blue tongue. And I also want him to have some green teeth. Wow, that's really creative. And I want him to have a purple eyeball, just like this. And maybe my other eyeball might be, let's see what color. Maybe it's kind of this pinkish, purplish kind of color. It's a lot lighter than the one I have here. And you know what? You could even use your crayons if you want to go back, and if you want to color in like large circles like this, or medium size or small circles, you could also do that. So you can use your crayons sometimes to also color in shapes. All right, the color I'm going to use around that now will be my pink. And so here I'm going to color the rest of it pink, just like this. Awesome job, guys. Good job. I am going to also add, I think I want to add some brown. And maybe the brown will be his body or maybe his shirt. You can make your shirt striped different colors, or you can color it all one color. It's really up to you on what you want to do. You know what? Maybe I want to even go back and I want to add some stars, and that's just simply some different lines that are on top of each other, or maybe you want to make it look like a star. It's really up to you. So, is it realistic to have stars with my sun out? Not really, because stars are at night, but it's okay. We're creating our picture. So, I want you to keep on coloring your picture until you are finished. So today, we learned how to create our very own Abenag character. We named our character and also created a story while we were drawing today. You might want to take some time to share your picture with your family and friends. You might also want to share with them the name that you gave your character, or maybe even a story that you made up by yourself and maybe a new name for your character. I really enjoyed making art with you today, and I hope that you take the time to share your art with others. Until next time, let's keep making art.